Yeah, well, if there's money you want, money you're going to get. I'm going to show you how to make that money too. People, welcome to Every Cent Counts right here on your TT Radio, Net Radio. And of course, on a Monday, this is where we are joined by none other than Garth Thomas himself. Mr. Thomas, great Monday morning to you. How you doing?
And a great Monday morning to you too, Sir Charles. And I am doing great. What about you?
Oh, I'm probably doing just as well.
All right, all right. I am happy to hear that. So, Charles, I want to start this morning with a little quotation from a book that I recommend highly. It is one of a series. I have spoken about what I consider to be the best of the series already. You know, it's one of my favorite texts, and it is The Greatest Miracle in the World by Mandino. But Mandino has written a number of other books, and one of them is The Greatest Secret in the World. Okay. So we've had The Greatest Miracle, and we have The Greatest Secret. And before I read this little excerpt from The Greatest Secret, from the beginning of The Greatest Secret, I just want to remind all our listeners out there in the diaspora and right here in TNT that even though they may feel powerless to change what is happening around us, that they can, everybody has the power and the opportunity to change how things are in TNT and to change how things are wherever they may be in the world. And it lies in our simple greetings, Sir Charles, that we had just now. Have a great day, a great morning. Yes? It seems so innocuous, Sir Charles. And yet, you know, if we could just let our imaginations run wild for a moment and think of a world where everybody greets everybody with greatness. Think of how that will change the vibe. How it will change the mindset. How it will change the behavior of the people from being negative to positive and from being negative to powerful, positively powerful. And so I want to encourage, and I will continue to encourage our listeners every Monday when we come to this platform to do your part. Because there is something you can do, and that simple something is that as you go through your day, greet everyone you meet with greatness. Have a great day. Wish everyone that they may have a great day. It ain't no news, it ain't breaking news, but it can make a lot of things new. And I am hoping that people will say, okay, let me try it, because I live for the day, such as when as I go through my day and as I meet people, that everyone greets me with greatness, because I'm certainly going to greet every one of them with greatness. And that will do something for people who hear me. But you know the greatest beneficiary of that exercise, such as me.
Yeah.
I am the greatest beneficiary because it makes me think about greatness. And I think it was René Descartes, the French philosopher, who says, I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. And how you think will determine how you are. So I'm sure you all have heard me talk about this before, but fasten your seatbelts. I ain't done. You're going to get it every Monday. A gentle reminder, a little poke in the ribs, a little nudge, if you will have it that way. A little reminder, a gentle reminder that you have the power and that you should exercise it every day, because it will change your life tremendously. So we've been talking, Sir Charles, on the program about 2050. Come 2050. Sir Charles, you know, nobody else wants to think about 2050. They say, boy, but it might have a big war on our borders any second. Now you want to think about 2050. Well, you know, the war will come and the war will go, and so will 2050.
Yeah.
All right, we need to move ahead. We need to think ahead, because it is the people who think ahead that will get ahead. Who's a child? That was so easy.
You didn't realize that yourself.
I tell you, think ahead and you will get ahead. All right. So one of the key factors we identified in talking about where will Trinidad and Tobago be in 2050? What will it be like to live in Trinidad in 2050? Of course, a lot of people might be saying, "But God, I might even be here." All right. And they might say, "But God, you may not be here." That is true. I may not be here because I am 77, heading forward 78 right now. Yeah. But I suspect I will be here, Sir Charles. It's a suspicion I have. You know, you know. But whether I am here or I am not, I have a concern that 2050 will meet TNT at its on an upward climb, you know, and I want the climb to be steep because I wanted to challenge every other nation around us. And let me again say, Sir Charles, that, you know, there was a time when I wanted Trinidad and Tobago to be the best nation in the world. I don't really cherish that kind of a dream anymore. What I do want is I want Trinidad and Tobago to be the best nation it possibly can be. Let me stop comparing yourself with others. All right? That could be a very vain exercise. Let us say, let's look at what we have. Let's see how much we can make of it. And let's move toward a path or with a purpose of becoming the best nation that we can be. However, we compare to another nation, so be it. But let us be the best nation that we can be. Let us make that our goal. Let us focus our energies on that. So we have agreed on the program that education, the changing of mindsets, and you see, I like to qualify it now when I talk about education, because I think the primary role of education is not just to give information. It's not just to pass on information, but it is about changing mindsets. So Charles, on Thursday and Friday, I attended an online seminar on AI and AI's applications. So Charles, let me tell you something. The whole world is going to be significantly different in 2050 than it is now.
I believe that.
And I suspect we don't have to wait until 2050, because based upon the kind of information I got in that seminar, next 5 years, yes?
Yeah, it's going to be rapid.
Yeah, it's going to be very rapid. So people brace yourself. Let me tell you, don't fight the AI. All right? Learn about it. Find out how you can make it work for you. But don't turn your back on it, because you won't be able to just now. All right? It is immense. So coming back to my statement that, you know, education in my thinking is about changing mindsets. And you know, yesterday evening, I attended a little birthday party for my youngest grandson. He turned 3. Actually, he turned 3 today, but we had the party yesterday. So come 2050, he will be 28. All right? He will be 28. So if we don't understand that we have to invest in him and his generation, that we have to make sure that we use AI and every other mechanism that is available to help them develop a mindset that recognizes the power of imagination and that recognizes the power of themselves, their innate value and worth. That is the challenge, Richard. That is the challenge. But I came across now this quotation from Thomas Huxley. Thomas Huxley, you know, was a great writer and philosopher. This is what Thomas Huxley says. I quote, "The most valuable result of all education is to make you do the thing you have to do when it ought to be done, whether you like it or not." I think I need to repeat that, Sir Charles. The most valuable result of all education is to make you do the thing you have to do when it ought to be done, whether you like it or not. It is the first lesson that ought to be learned. And however early a man's training begins, it is probably the last lesson that he learns thoroughly. All right, that is our quote of the day from Thomas Huxley. Wow, what a time, Sir Charles. Huxley been around a little while, eh? I don't even know if Huxley's still alive. But look at the gem that he has left here with us. And I don't know if our educators and those who are responsible for the curricula in our educational institutions are familiar with a quotation like this, because it certainly is a guiding light in terms of how we structure educating our youth. And I'm telling you, Sir Charles, you see this AI thing? This AI thing is going to change the whole concept of education. But with all of the changes, it's going to come right back to what Huxley articulated here in this little quotation. So, having said that, Sir Charles, last week we were a little short on time, and we didn't really exhaust the stuff that we were talking about. If you recall last week, every cent count was brought to you by the letter I. And the letter I was for imagination. All right? Imagination. But that letter was in the context of a broader picture, a broader context that we have been dealing with. All right? And I wanted to kind of underline that because we are here in November. We passed the middle of November now. And we're heading pell-mell into the Christmas season. Parang, pastel, ham.
Money.
That's where we're headed. Right? And before you know it, Sir Charles, in a blink, it is going to be 2026. We will no longer have 25 years to 2050. We'll have 24 years to 2050. So, the clock is ticking because whatever you do with your time, it marches on. And you have to be in a position to maximize the time that is available to you. I recently was reminded of a saying. Actually, I think it was at the same seminar that I attended on Thursday and Friday. And the lead presenter, a gentleman by the name of Leslie Lee Fook, quite an intelligent guy, quite an amazing guy. Hopefully I may be able to have him on the program sometime. But the statement he made was that he is now in a place where there are more days behind him than in front of him.
Reality bites, huh?
Reality bites, right? So, at 77, I could easily make the same statement, but I don't know. I like to think out of the box.
Yeah. Don't limit yourself.
And you know which box I'm talking about?
Yes, definitely. You want to be totally out of that box.
I want to get the look in the box in a hurry, but So I feel I will greet each day with a sense that I have more days ahead of me than behind me. All right. Let me change the paradigm a little bit. Of course, some people will say, God, that is wishful thinking. Well, maybe it is, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see, Sir Charles. But I was saying that all of that discussion was in the context of budget, because we recently had our national budget, which I have, again, I will say it, I have deliberately steered clear of making any comments on that national budget. But I am saying that the budget gives us a reason to look at our own business, because whilst we have very little influence on the national budget, we have to look at our budget. So I want to talk this morning to Charles about the fact that I'm going to reinforce some of the stuff I've already said. Perhaps say it in a little different way, because everybody will not get it the same way. So a budget, we have agreed, is a management tool. And it is a tool that is used primarily in terms of the management of finances. That has been that's the primary association. When you hear the word budget, the association in your mind is about money. It's about managing money. It's about income and expenses. Yes? That is the main concept of a budget. I'm trying to redefine that concept, Sir Charles. And I find myself needing to redefine a lot of stuff. Ever since I came to the realization that we operate on assumptions that we have accepted without really examining. And therefore we become slaves to those assumptions. So, again, one time, my brother Bob, lyrics come to mind. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And so we have to examine some of these assumptions. So I suspect that is why I have been looking at things and re-looking at things. So for instance, I am now in the process. It's been a little while I've been working on it now. It's been quite of a challenge. But launching an online program on retirement. And one of the purposes of that online program is to help people change their perception of what is retirement. And in the context of that, I'm trying to help people to see that instead of looking, we talk about it in a measuring program already, instead of looking at retirement as a departure lounge, because such as that is a perception most people have about retirement. It's a departure lounge. You work, they retire from the job. You notice it isn't that you retire, they retire you from your job and turn you out of pasture. And most people accept that and say, okay, I had my day in the sun. I had to chill a little bit now. It's the sunset years. I have to wait for the sun to go down. Or I have to wait for my flight to call because I need departure lounge. I have to wait for my flight to call. Well, such as, I am rejecting that concept of retirement entirely.
Yes.
All right. My concept of retirement is that it is the best opportunity I will ever get to have the richest experience that life can offer. And I'm in position to do it because over the years that I've been working in the system, I have garnered significant amount of knowledge and information and expertise, which my world needs. Yes? And if I can package it intelligently, I can sell it, and I can have multiple streams of retirement income, passive income. Yes, but I'm not directly promoting my.
All right. Okay. Cool. No problem.
I was just by the way, but I'm saying that we need to redefine stuff, and one of the things that we need to redefine is this concept of a budget. And I'm trying to help people to think of a budget as a resource management tool. That is it, a resource management tool, not a money management tool, such as, you see, when you limit the thing to money, it's a big limit. It's a rigorous limit. It is a very debilitating limit. All right? Because outside of the money that you have resources. You have more intangible resources than money. So if it is necessary, and it is, to have a management tool for your money, it is even more important to have a management tool for your resources, for all of your resources, especially such as your intangible resources. I talk about this in my wealth creation template, where we talk about the finish line and we talk about the starting line, and we say the finish line is where you want to end up. Your vision of where you want to end up, that is technically going to be your purpose in life. And your start line is identifying the resources that are currently available to you to work with, to mobilize, to develop strategies around for moving you forward to where you want to get. All right? So this interpretation and rendition of what a budget should be flows out of that, because we have these resources. The resources are there. So why are we not going to use these resources? And why don't we have a tool to manage those resources? Because such as, when you look at the volume of resources, the span, the breadth and depth and height of the resources that we have, especially in the area of the intangible, management is needed, such as, because management is what provides a structure and a path and a sequence and a process, all of those things, all right, whereby the resources that are available can be maximized. Let me say that, such as, again, whereby the resources that we have could be maximized. So I'm saying to you, listener outside there, if you feel powerless, if you feel that you had a raw deal with life, your parents didn't do this, your boss did that, your wife or spouse did the other, and so on, and it ain't hard to find people to blame for your situation. But you don't want to go down that hole. You don't want to go down that road. Yes? You want to say, whatever has happened to me to date, I can use as a resource, the good and the bad. Let me learn from both and see how it can propel me to where I want to be. That's such as, boy, such as if we could just, I wouldn't, you don't want to impose our mindset on anybody. But if we could just help everybody to set up that kind of a mindset inside of the head, such as we go, 2050, we will be soaring at unimaginable heights. Yes, because it's an old saying, is nothing new, and the saying is that there's very little you can do to prevent things from happening to you. You don't have a whole lot of control over what happens to you, because life happens. A lot of crap happens in life. It happens, and you wish that it didn't happen. You wish the car didn't break down, you didn't get it flat. All right, you wish you didn't lose your job. You wish you had more pay. All of these are wishes. All right, but whilst we cannot prevent things from happening to us, what we can do is find out how we can use whatever happens to us to our advantage, good and bad. All right. So that is the head that I really want to push this morning, Sir Charles, because if people develop this kind of head or mindset, as we call it, all right, it will change their lives dramatically, not marginally, Sir Charles, dramatically. So I want to promote a budget as a resource management tool. And if you do not have one, start it today. You can't finish it today. Trust me, the dimension of the task isn't one that you can finish in a day or a night. You have to work on it a little bit. Yeah? So you want to commence for 2026 a resource management budget. Yes? And in this budget, you are going to list all of the assets that you have, all of the resources that are available to you, including time, such as, because here we are in November 2025. Such as just the other day, it was January 2025. All right.
So true.
It wasn't that long ago, but the 11 months have pretty well gone. So if you do not understand that time is a resource that needs management, then you're going to be hitting your head against the wall and complaining about getting headaches when you are the cause. All right. So I'm saying it is November. November is just about at an end. Make the time to do a resource budget, a resource management budget. It will be inclusive of a financial budget, but it will not be limited to a financial budget. Okay, it is more expansive, it is more powerful, and most of all, it is more motivational, such as, than a financial budget. Now, a lot of people do not do a financial budget because they know they're supposed to do it. But at an emotional level, it really doesn't turn them on. It doesn't provide a lot of impetus. And that is because they focus more on the matter that composes the budget, the little, all the little bits and pieces, without focusing on the end result. What is doing this budget going to do for me? How will it move me ahead? Because you see, such as if you do a budget that doesn't show you how you can get ahead, your motivation for implementing that budget going to be very low. And if your motivation is low, then you will not make the sacrifices that you need to make. You will not use your imagination to see how you can use the resources that you have to generate more money, all right, and more wealth. Not just money, but also wealth, all right. And therefore you will not feel the motivation to really get off your fat ant and do what needs to be done. All right, do what needs to be done. So I'm trying to move people, such as, along a pathway where they will embrace the concept of budget as a management tool and as a resource management tool, a tool that will enable them to construct a future that is bright and powerful and positive. Yes? Because that is what you need to look at. And remember, we move toward whatever we are looking at. That's the power of paying attention. All right? That attention focuses your energy, and you need the energy to get what has to be done. And therefore, I am really pushing the budget as a human resource management tool, as a resource management tool for your life, for your resources. And it is a tool, the use of which will generate high levels of enthusiasm and motivation. Yes? So that whatever has to be done will get done. So when you see, I come back to my quotation from Huxley out there. He say, it is the most valuable result of all education is to make you do the thing you have to do. So one of the most valuable results of doing a budget, a resource management budget, is that it will motivate you to do what you have to do. You know, what you ought to do. All right, whether you like it or not. Well, it will, you know, doing that kind of an exercise will deal with whether you like it or not, because you're not just going to like it, you're going to love it, because the activity itself will remind you of who you are, of your own power, and of the fact that although you are facing significant and maybe gigantic obstacles, you have the power to rise above. And the power, and you know, I was trying to emphasize that last week, that the power of the imagination is the essential power you can use to rise above gigantic obstacles. And you know, such as, you know, in my own experience, it's not just the size of the obstacle is the problem, you know. It's the persistence.
All right.
It's the persistence, is that you have tried already to get around this block, this obstacle, this whatever it is in your pathway, this wall. Sometimes it looks like a towering wall. It isn't that you ain't tried before. You've tried and failed, and tried and failed, and tried and failed. And it gets into you. And you're beginning to think that, boy, this thing insurmountable. I cannot get around it. But all those failures are trying to tell you, Sir Charles, is one simple thing. And that is, use your imagination. Sit down for a moment. And you know, Sir Charles, this is real power of my wealth creation template. This question that I have in the middle of that template is, there's the question. And you know what the question is, Sir Charles? It is, how can I? Now, you see, Sir Charles, when you believe in yourself, you can ask yourself that question. If you don't believe yourself, it's hard to ask yourself that question, because you're saying to yourself, I really do have what it takes. And that is your major obstacle here. Once you don't believe in yourself, once you believe you do not have what it takes to get where you want to go,
Yeah.
capo smoke your pipe. All right? But you have to deal with that, and if you ask the question, your self-belief will grow. And again, I emphasize, it is not a question you can ask once or twice. It's a question you must ask yourself every day, many times a day, especially just before you go to sleep. How can I use the resources that I have? So you see where the resource management budget is important, Sir Charles, because the resource management budget will help you to identify the resources that are available to you. Yes? So when you ask yourself the question, how can I use these resources to get where I want to go? It's an intelligent question, because you've identified the resources. Yes? And you have come to the realization that you have many more resources than you thought you had. Because you see, when you look at your resources just as your material resources, the house you have, the car that you don't have, and all of these other little things, the little minuscule money you have in your bank account, that the bank will keep taking fees out of whether you use it or not. You know, all of these things, when you look at those things, those material resources, it's not difficult to get discouraged, you know, Sir Charles. It is the easiest thing to get discouraged when you look at the physical resources that you have. You just have to remind yourself that life is more about the invisible than the visible. And with the teeny bit of material resources that you can see and touch, alongside of them is a vast reservoir of intangible resources, your talent, your skills, your expertise, especially your relationships, your wisdom, all right, your mind, your imagination, such as these are immense resources that are available to every human being. Nobody can take them away from you, know, such as that's one of the things I like about them, you know, such as you see your physical resources, people could thief it. People could thief your car. I see that there's a scam going on now in the US. We are using AI and technology. People stealing your house from you. people going in and changing the deed to your house and putting their name on the deed and then mortgaging your house to some organization. And next thing you know, you getting a default notice from this financial company saying that you haven't paid your mortgage. And you say, boy, I ain't pay my mortgage. I pay my mortgage all the time. I have the things here. And it's because the house has been literally stolen from under your feet. So you have worked hard.
Wow,
You made
that's
these
something.
sacrifices. You built this house. You treasure it. Somebody sit down at the computer and thief it from you, Sir Charles. You know, I wouldn't say steal. I say they thief it from you. Next thing you know, you get put out of your own house. All right. No, that is serious stuff. So I am just saying, you know, material resources can always be stolen from you. In some, such as it have no shortage of smart men outside there, you know.
No. And just how you are using the technology to try and improve your situation, they're looking to improve theirs.
Yes, absolutely. All right. No shortage of smart men in the place. All right. So you cannot make any assumptions. You have to understand it's a hostile environment outside there. You have to be careful and cautious. But most of all, you have to recognize that whatever material resources are taken from you, you have intangible resources that they cannot steal. Yes? That is your treasure. And you want to do a budget. That's my message today. To tie it up, because I see it's almost 1:45 now. Do a budget to manage your resources. Yes? A resource management tool, which will be an extremely motivational tool. Identify all of your resources. Yes? And ask yourself the question. Leverage your prime resource, because your prime resource is your mind. So you want to leverage that prime resource by asking yourself the question over and over and over and over and over and over again, such as, how can I use what I have, tangible and intangible? How can I use these resources to get where I want to be? And Sir Charles, I guarantee you, if you keep asking that question, the mind is magnificent. You will start to get ideas and you want to know where them ideas come out from. Yes? And then it's a question of translating those ideas into reality. All right? By working out plans and strategies and by moving forward, doing things and always assessing, you know, what is the progress, what's the performance like? Are we encountering obstacles that we didn't realize were there? If so, how can we manage them? But it's the mindset, such as it's the power, you know, because, you know, when you have achieved it, you will rock back and you say, boy, I really did well, you know. I wasn't so sure how it was going to work out, but because I depended upon me. So, you know, your greatest prize out of the exercise, such as, is a sense of well-being, all right? A sense of competence, a sense that whatever they throw at you, you're going to come out on top. Listen to me. That, Sir Charles, is priceless. That is 110% priceless. Yes? So, I don't know if you want, Sir Charles, it's 14 minutes, almost 13 minutes to the hour.
Yes, let's try and see, because you know,
If there's anybody who wants
yeah,
to
who
do
would
anything,
like to call, who would like to contribute, ask a question, they can do so now. 2811315. That's 2811315. There's a call.
yeah. And whilst you're waiting for that call, Sir Charles, I will repeat my quotation from the day from Thomas Huxley. And I didn't even pay attention to it before, you know, Sir Charles, but as I said the name again, you realize what his first name is?
Thompson.
Thomas.
Thomas.
It's Thomas. It's Thomas Huxley, you know, so I have a little piece inside of there. But the quotation is, the most valuable result of all education is to make you do the thing you have to do. So, Charles, you know what that suggests? That suggests that there's a purpose to each of our lives. Yes, there's a purpose. And when I was in the seminar last week, Leslie Lee Fook was saying that, you know, that is such a critical part of that whole mastering, that whole AI process and stuff. Understanding that you have a purpose, and the purpose is not just to make money. All right? Yeah, your purpose is really about enriching your world, one person at a time. Yes, especially your family. So the most valuable result of all education is to make you do the thing you have to do. It's to make you fulfill your purpose when it ought to be done, whether you like it or not. It is the first lesson that ought to be learned. And however early a man's training begins, it is probably the last lesson that he learns thoroughly. I find that is such an amazing quotation. So.
All right, let's go to the lines to see. Mr. Hotep, good morning.
Hi, everyone.
A great morning, Mr. Hotep.
Yeah, good discussion. I mean, well, at least good topic, because some of what you say resonates okay with me. But I have a few thoughts, though.
Sure.
All right? Because I do wish you good luck with your endeavors. But I believe what passes for education cannot achieve your lofty objective. So, you know, I'm normally happy for people who are willing to try other means, because I believe your purpose of how we in school is to mislead people. That is my genuine belief. Okay. And I think you're mostly effective because they use just enough truth that resonates and appeals to people without encouraging them to challenge the overall objective of all of this. You know what I mean? And it does not make you cultivate or recognize your interest and your self-interest. Right? It makes you very pliable, and and that suits politicians, businesses, and I have to say religions too. Right? Mm-hmm. Because they can all get what they want out of you, and at the end of the day, you're still happy. Right? So I consider the system to be generally about organized exploitation. Now, they have a system that actually is geared towards that, because when they were developing the education system, it didn't develop with the concept of what is in the best interest of people's development. It was developed with what is in the best interest of running the society, what is in the best interest of the business community.
Absolutely.
And we haven't really gone further than that sufficiently to encourage that human capacity development, that ability to free the mind, free the spirit, to think creatively. And societies don't like to deal with that generally. They like organized. They try to get conformity. And one of the problems with trying to have conformity is that as human beings, we have quite diverse spirits and diverse personalities and diverse everything. The problem is the way most people try to go about addressing that is by, I would say, rebellion or trying to evade it. But it hardly ever entails a well thought out questioning of the system and a body of ideas that allow you to develop over time the freeing of your spirit and your mind, so that you could think broad, you could, fulfill your own dreams.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I used to talk to a vagrant in town when I was younger, and he was telling me, he lying down on the street there. He said, I lying down here every day, and I watch people coming down the road smiling, and then over the years I watch their face hang. And and he's an observer. And there's no way you could convince him that what he watching in people every day is about betterment.
Yes.
He actually watching them come and start off starry-eyed about all these nice things they would like, and then they wither down over time. And they know that they're crawling going to work, and then they're unhappy looking. And that is the reality for most people. I think if people want better, they can't just rely on the schooling, because if they learn to broaden their horizons, they would be able to extract the useful aspects of schooling and education but don't lose the self, which is the most important thing. Because of everything you cultivate, there are two things that you can really own that nobody could take from you: a healthy sense of self and your character. People could take anything else from you, but that you have to give that up there. Nobody can take it from you. With that, I would like to say pleasant program.
Thank you, Mr. Hotep.
Yeah,
Lovely contribution.
Yeah, people have a couple more minutes. Say you could give us a call. I saw somebody was calling us. I don't know what time before, Mr. Hope. You could try back now.
Yeah, hopefully they will get back. But it is. You see that observation thing that Mr. Hotep spoke about the vagrant. You see, look, he is a vagrant on the street, and people will look down on him. But where he is at, he is seeing stuff that the average person not seeing, and that is because he's observing. Observation is a very powerful thing. Right? You know, Deepak Chopra calls it the power of attention. He calls it actually the magic of attention. That when you put your attention on something, it generates a particular energy. So thank you very much, Mr. Hotep. I thought those were very useful thoughts, and hopefully our listeners are making some notes, because it is not easy. You know, you hear people keeping advocating the power of education. Certainly, the father of the nation understood the power of it, and you just have to have the proviso that yes, education is a tool, but yes, the content of the education is a critical factor. Yes.
Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Sir Charles and Mr. Sinclair. Very good morning to you. Hi,
Thomas.
Thomas.
Yeah. Sorry, Thomas.
That's all right.
Apologies. So, I heard you speaking about the human resources management tool that is going to develop, if I'm correct. Am I correct, sir?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what I was thinking here, because here are some of the things I share with students when I interact with them, and this is university students, is that to develop some habits, some micro habits, I call them, to change their life, which I believe can fall into some of your human resources management tool. And I like to share, discover what kind of a life you want is one of the first things you should do. Make a plan, know what you want, and then figure out how to get there. I tell people say, on the topic of, just digress about being a born leader, and I says everyone's a born leader, because we all manage the largest corporation in the world. It's called Me Incorporated. You handle your own finance, your human resources, your personal life, your management skills, your time management, the whole 9 yards. So make a plan. Just like a company will have a strategic goal and a plan, make a plan. Track your progress. Keep track of what you're doing, how it's going. Write things down. You wouldn't remember everything. And make a promise to yourself. Write an oath, a vision, a mission statement in which you share to act towards your goal and never give up. And while you're doing that, you have to clear the mental obstacles in your path. Be confident that you're going to accomplish what you set out to do. You have to be, while you could be a realist, you must always be optimistic, more optimistic than pessimist. And just do it. Don't overthink things. Don't try to figure, no. Just take the first step and keep going from there. Failure will be an option, but every time as the old saying, whenever you fail, you learn something. I'm not going to do it that way again. I got to find another way. And don't compare yourself to others, because, I don't call it social media. I don't have Facebook. I don't believe in those things, because I call them unsocial media. Keep living your own life. Don't compare yours. Don't try to mimic another person. Live your life and start saying yes more often. Take on new challenges. You got to remember that a new habit is much easier to keep than one you've been working on for years, because you've tried and failed. Try something new. You might be surprised what happens.
Yes.
And challenge yourself to learn something new every day, including eating better. I mean, my God, I listen to all the various programs there on the radio in Trinidad, and most people, they always talk about it. Drink more water, eat less unprocessed foods, try a breakfast every day if you can, and not doubles necessarily. Organize yourself. You spoke, I'm not going to get into saving money because this is your bailiwick, and you've talked about everything from stop wasting to create a budget, use cash instead of credit, and the whole 9 yards, compare prices before you buy. And one of the things you started off with this morning, that it's a topic very dear to my heart, is about AI, artificial intelligence. And one of the things I will say, Mr. Thomas and Sir Charles, over the millennium, especially over the last 100 years, think about it, we have experienced significant technological advantages that have changed our lives. And in most cases, if not all, the impact have been tremendously positive. I mean, look, I'm calling you on WhatsApp more than 5,000 miles away, and we can interact. So the impact has been both tremendous and positive, and accompanied by serious drawbacks because we have had lots of pitfalls. But the pattern applies to the limitations of artificial intelligence. The industrial age and the age of computers, AI holds promise, but brings with it the potential for unintended consequences.
Yes.
Particularly how it affects human communication, connection, and life. We talk about all this stuff about all this on social media. Personally, I think the greater argument for human skills AI can't replace lies in the nature of our humanness, the complexity of the mind, body, soul, and the fact that we are social beings. Just think about it, What AI can't do in a real life situation. Just think about any one of these scenarios that cause you the most emotional turmoil, I should say, in a given week. You feel anxious about an upcoming meeting with your boss or with a family member or with the bank, whatever. How you managing discouragement about your career, things not going the way you plan, or worse yet, worrying about the choices your teenage daughter is making. Well, would your first instinct be to open chat box and ask for advice? Probably not. So while AI can organize huge amount of information and offer suggestions, AI cannot understand what it's like to feel misunderstood, to struggle with motivation, and to wrestle with doubts in the way a fellow human can. So, while you talk about human resource management tool, know this, there are many human skills that AI can't replace, and they matter more in our daily lives than any algorithm, because algorithms are looking at the general population and a sample size. Hey, I always believe that an original is always better than a copy. So be original, be yourself. And, the human resource management tool you should look at is the one that speaks solely and specifically to you. So that was my bit. Take care of yourself.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Pythagoras. All right. Well, we definitely over our limit this morning.
Yes.
So let's see how do we wrap this. Tell people
okay, so Charles, well, my WhatsApp number is 680-3185. 680-3185. Do drop me a note with your name and a email address, and we can chat.
Okay. Thank you very much, Garth. Have a great day, and people, thank you very much for being inside the conversation this morning. Yeah, on the Era TT Radio. We're going straight to news.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
Good day, everybody. This is News Now on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, and Guile Caribbean TV. Foreign Affairs Minister Sean Sobers says